Hello and welcome to another gameplay review on the Virkayu gameplay channel. And in this one we have Kindred. It's been a while since we did Kindred, and in the previous video you would have noticed we did Kale, and then the one before that we did Fiddlesticks. And these champions are about scaling, playing in a variety of game states, and surviving until you become an ascended being of destruction. Kindred, on the other hand, while they are something that scales, let me just organize that for you. You are not a scaling jungler in the classical sense, right? The whole point is to use good aggressive pathing, good jungle reads to snowball beyond control by the mid game. If you're playing Kindred and you're behind in the mid game, something went wrong. The whole principle behind Kindred is strong, aggressive, snowballing jungle pathing, like a Rengar would also want to use. Rengar doesn't want to... Hold on. Doesn't want to AFK farm and do nothing, you know? You're always trying to make plays. Hey, you started E for that, so you guys better get a kill. Let's go. Don't worry. Very, very good. And that's why, if you watch the main channel video about the 8 jungle tips from Saturday, the jungler I was critiquing was a platinum jungler, and he's now diamond since that video. They were all just kind of chilling. And these opportunities are very much given to you guys frequently. Use them. You're not going to win the game necessarily from it because there's no gains to be had here. At least in top lane now, the Aatrox should have a lot of advantage over the Ornn, given that he started E for this. But you know, those moments need to be used. Now, we're kiting, we're smiting, we're playing a little bit safe here. I think maybe a little too safe, unless we potentially want to impact this lane early, but obviously we're just kiting up and down at this particular point. If you're against an invading jungler as Kindred in these situations, as I've talked about in coaching on the Patreon quite frequently, including literally yesterday, you need to take jungle paths that allow you to still get things done. There's a lot of Kindreds will take jungle paths that are kind of boring, right? You'll just do a 4 camp in the same direction as another jungler, and then they have prio, you lose the crab, you run across to try to get this crab, and their mid laner rotates. You've done 4 camps, you've ignored your raptors because they're more difficult to take. What do? You're stuck with this big question mark moment. And if you're playing Kindred and you're stuck on first crab rotation 315 to 330, let's just say, and you can't get either, and you're like, well, now what do I do? Your pathing early needs to be adjusted, either to your level 2 invades, either that into your, you know, buff grump invades. You can still technically do like a Raptors thing early, but it's not always as efficient. But here, the 4 camp is a very good standard way to go, specifically because we know that the Lilia was leashed, went to the top side, and Corky's concerned that you started top and is going bot, so we leech out that E there, and we will curl him to death. This is very interesting from a laner point of view, right? You know she starts here from the leash. She goes up. In the majority of your cases, that's what's going to happen. And in the coaching, I said, why do you start in the same direction? Because this is what happens. Now you're stuck. Start in the opposite direction, right? And the enemy laner is going to think, well, every jungler does, you know, like 5, 6 camps at this point. Let me get my 3 or whatever, and let me go and ward. But because you do a 4 camp reasonably fast, very, very easy to capitalize on them when they're warding, before they're warding, and so on. Obviously, you get free crab as well, and you can obviously adjust your mark thusly. Also, specifically if you don't want to fight the enemy jungler. But in this situation, wish I could always see what's been targeted in the replay, but you can't always from this perspective, like when you're watching this POV. Anyway, so from this, always very classic stuff. You fall back to your jungle, you go back down to your Krugs. Now you can afford to spend some time in that arena. You know that the Lilia is done most likely for Claire. You know she's going to be doing this and resetting. Because what else is she going to do? So at this particular point, you could go back to base, but you could also stay and make a play before Lilia rotates, which I think is huge. This is great snowball jungling. Good level 1. Good initial path. Good timing on the ganks mid lane. Good timings on the bot lane gank. Be very, very cautious here. Lilia's actually stuck around. This, for me, is very confusing. She's going for the dive, obviously. Now, she'll get this one. But that means we could, in theory, go for this. The problem is, with Zeri being alive, with Karma being alive, we're kind of low. So, I'm always perplexed by junglers that do a full clear crab and they show top lane at like 440. But you are Kindred. You can abuse thusly, and if you do not, then you're not playing Kindred correctly. So, always very, very good. If you do kill the bot lane here with a double, and you are able to actually just melt everybody, you can, of course, go straight to the mark and secure it. Yeet that away, look to gank this again. You'll most likely use this, but who cares? Reset, and now you can go bot lane again. Repeat the process. In this situation, obviously, Karma respawns. She goes straight back down. You know she's going to collapse when you go to Grump. You're kind of too low for that, so back to base, get your noon quiver. Go back to the top lane. We're doing walls into Grump because remember, you're going to look to do something on the top side. If you're going to go down, you can just go Grump walls in that particular sequence. Here we will ding 5. We can hit the plant to see some vision. Or if you want to be unknown, to exploit some potential negative vision that the team has, don't hit the plant, but at this point, you can watch his behavior, right? See, there you go. That's why. Very interesting. I'll talk about it in a second. So we go in, he does have flash, but you're using your great positioning, you see that? This is textbook ganking. Let's rewind that. I don't want to do that too much in these videos now. Okay. Watch. From his perspective, he just disappears from lane, goes to ward, most likely what he did. If you hit this plant, right, now you are seen, he has time to back off. Because you're ranged, because you're fed, because you want to snowball, because you really need to capitalize on the fact that the Lilia most likely is going to go to the bottom side, let's walk on up ourselves and scan at the last minute, okay? Last second. But because you're watching his body language, if it's warded here, it's not, you scan, it is. Perfect positioning. Absolutely perfect positioning. It's too late for him to do anything. I don't think he really registers what's going on either, which is obviously a bit of a mistake from his part. He could have tried, he could have flashed, he could have done a few things differently. But I choose to believe that in the majority of elos that are not high elo, the laners will be behaving just like that. So think very deeply about when to hit the plant and when not to. If it's deeply pushed up, hi Lilia, full sequencing, good counter jungling. Well, there was a smite. This is good counter jungling because you know the Lilia starts bot and goes up. Okay, wait a second. Aatrox comes back to lane. Ornn hits the ult, hits the E. That's a dead Lilia. Now all of a sudden we have brittle proc once more. That's Corgi's rotating. This is good. This is very good jungling, guys. This is almost. I wish I could show you right now the coaching session I had from Kindred yesterday. This is almost exactly what the player should have done. And there were some issues sort of with these mistakes, but he always was able to make a play to come back into the game. But it shows you with Kindred, if you don't make the mistakes, if you make the good reads, this champion is the ultimate at, let me just win the game with snowball. It's a smurfing kind of champion that people forget exists, I feel. Very, very nicely done to counter jungle this, knowing the Lilia is sequencing up. Obviously that the Aatrox is not 6 and will be coming back to lane as well. You know you win the 2v2, we get some plate cash monies, go back to base. Don't waste time on your, don't waste time on your blue, because we see the Lilia here, who's now really far behind. And the nice thing is when you have strong lanes, they will play off of it. Thank you. They will play off of it. They really will. And this happens in a lot of elos as well. Really will. Okay, out of base, we can go straight to the bot side. We do have the RNG crab that we can get as well. We only have one mark, which I think is the only downside here. You don't want to use it on the Aatrox, you know, necessarily before you cross the vision, but I think it's worth an attempt to try and get, you know? And that's a problem with the marking. I wish maybe they can shorten it or something to make PvP marks easier to secure, like Rengar's Bone Tooth is a great example of a scaling mini game that makes a lot more sense in the modern game, because you've obviously got the 45-second timer on the monsters, right? But don't compromise your jungling. And remember this, and I've said this for years, do not compromise your jungling for marks, right? First you're a jungler, then you are a Kindred. And it is nice to just go and run into the Grump at that level 3 and try and get the mark. But if you get it and you die, you're giving the Karma, the Zeri back cash monies, and the Lilia, if she doesn't die top lane, will take your whole blue side. Now you're stuck with one quadrant, you know? You die here, maybe you get this, but Lilia takes this, you're down here, the Lilia knows where you are, she can sequence down and cut you off, you lose experience, she gets 6 first, you lose tempo, you know? So don't compromise your tempo for a mark. Good dragon secure after the kill. Kill conversion ratio always strikes true, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a look here for the PTA. I do love me some bonus PTA damage. The burst proc, the scaling, the amp damage, it's all super good and enjoyable. Little bit of a hippity-hoppity there. Okay, just dodging the Zeri. See, the Kindred mobility is very important. Okay, we already have Kraken Slayer, so you're dead. We do have ultimate available as well, but, well, red buff. Unlucky. You see the PvP destruction with 2 marks with the Kraken Slayer? It's absolutely insane if you play this champion properly. That was just, I'll kill everyone myself, no problem. Really, it's like the opposite of Kayle. Kayle is really, really bad, obviously, objective jungler. Maybe more like Karthus. Let's think of it like Karthus. Yeah, you can kind of snowball as Karthus, but you sort of get into those later phases, and you can take over games for sure. But the thing is, with Kindred, you kind of reach that way sooner. People are like, oh, you need 10 marks to do this with Kindred. No, you don't. You just need a little bit of a lead, 1 item level lead, and maybe 2 marks, 4 ideally. And you can just do whatever you want on the map. You know, it's like reaching level 16 Kayle, but for the early game. I like to think of it like that because even though, again, they do scale, it's just how you position and abuse the map. Here, we're kind of wasting a lot of time. We lose the Herald, so we're not really too much concerned about that. I'm having a look here. Lilia should show topside, which she does. She uses a Predator. Here we go. Karma has decided to forsake bottom lane and go and roam top lane as a support lane. As a support, I can confirm I do this also. It's good to roam and help the map. I'm sorry, ADCs, but if the lane is really giga doomed, obviously in this case, the Karma is sort of to blame, so she's in the wrong here. But if you're a good support in the ADC setting, then this is obviously nice. You go get some shutdowns. They're going to push this. They could look to straight up just herald this for plates, but I feel like at this point, do they have vision? Yep, she does actually have vision. You know that the Kindred was bot lane cheesing, and it's going back to it. Karma, was machst du? You're trying to set up a 2v1 against the Kindred, or did you just get a bad, you know, did you... I agree. My cat agrees. The meow is exactly how I feel about what just happened. So, the tilt factor of a snowballing champion. 11-2. And now a lot of you have always asked, why do we have so many Kindred games that are like this? And that's because they're playing them properly, ladies and gentlemen. That's because they're just playing them properly. This is your goal. This is your dream. This is what you must become. Let's see what we can talk about here now. Bottom side, we have the Lilia. The Karma once more has respawned, although if she... What are you doing? She's respawned, but one could argue that she wasn't alive in the first place. Specifically, I'm talking about the player here, who seems to be a bit of a lizard. We do have the Aatrox here. If we see this bot lane go counter jungling, now we can dive the top lane. Always something, I like this play. It's so simple and easy. Just Dire-res that dude. Except, you know, instead of 4v1, it's 2v1 because you don't need anybody else. The pop is so satisfying, and we finally get that mark on the Aatrox, and now we are at 6. You know, we just ballooned from 2 to 6. You see how quickly that happened? Just boom, 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 boom. Very, very smooth and quick. Alright, we can take this tower now, elevate this game state. Karma's back to the bottom lane with Zeri. Our bot lane is 1 assist each. Mid lane is 1-0-1. And you're probably asking, like, you know, what do I do if my team isn't helping me? I mean, are they helping? Is anyone really... Do we care about the lane? Like, you could almost hide this, right? You almost just want to hide it and focus on yourself in this particular situation. Ornn, don't overstay too much. This is a classic case. Don't overstay too much. Because now the Ornn can come with us. We do have teleport available. It's a little too early for the unleashed teleport. But there are more plates to be gained. But for us, we're definitely focused on maybe holding this mid lane. She has TP. He has TP. That's unfortunate. If no one TPs, straight to the lane, yeah? Hold the wave yourself. Good infusion. Move on down to the Raptors. We see the Lilia over the wards. Now we're taking the Raptors as we go through the high traffic zone to the enemy side of the map. Let's have a look to see what we can do. Take your lead now. Don't revert back to farming, please. Too often now. Quadrant clearing, focusing on farming. No. Push the map. Get into the jungle. She has Herald. She hasn't used it. You don't need to use that Ornn, but we can zone a little bit with it. Jump back in. Q buff. E proc die. Beautiful. See, into the jungle. Punish. Into the jungle. Punish. Fall back to your own camps for rewards. Here. We know that there's going to be something on the red. We kind of want to go for it, but Aatrox is shut up. He does hit the Q. We're forced to ult, unfortunately. Corki's damage once more is disgusting. So is Kindred. Good. Red buff spawns. We want to go snack that. Karma's in the bush. We have our Q and flash. Nice bard ult. I didn't even know there was a bard in the game, to be honest with you. I honestly completely forgot there was a bard in the game. I'm just focusing on the Kindred, my own self. We know that the mark there is going to spawn because we're at 6-7. And we saw the red buff spawning, so you can always time the marks. Ahri goes and does things because she's broken. She's just kind of strong, I think. For the majority of elos, we snack the Krugs, and then we push top lane. And as a bit of a bonus tip for those of you who have stuck with this, should you be in a scenario where your team are actually not playing very well, let's use that nicely, you can split push super well. You can easily take these towers, force rotations, and they have to send 3 people. They have to send 3 people. What are they going to do to a Kindred, right? What are they going to do to a Kindred who's this fed? And I'm not a fan of the collector build. I know there's someone in the Discord, our resident Kindred one trick. If you guys are ever interested, you can join the Discord. Ping Haywood. He will answer your build questions, although he's a bit of a snob with regards to it. He prefers his full crit. I prefer my full crit too. You don't really need the collector in the majority of cases. And specifically games and low elos where you're not really great on the sort of closing of the games, and it always ends up being a bit later. So the crit kind of just scales a bit more. The collect is a Korean thing and a super high elo thing where you can just use that to end the game, but I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. Your Lord Doms second, they will be better in almost a majority of cases than your collector, right? There's no real need for it. And I have seen a lot of people running those bulk changes if you prefer a bit of on-hit Kindred gaming as well. But no, don't think you need to worry about the collector. Lethality Kindred in general is pretty good. Nice charm into Everfrost into death. Once more, you can have good range here. We're at 8 now, so obviously the marks amplify everything. But the 4 is a crucial one for your range. Just feels a lot more natural. Do think Kindred could benefit from range, but I think if they give Kindred more slow back on the E, like we had in Season 6, that was kind of broken. Like 90% slow on an E on a ranged champion is not okay. It's way too much. It's absolutely way too much. But Kindred needs to be, if you're a jungle marksman, you can't have too much range initially because you just abuse everybody. I mean, Graves does it and he's low range. We all know how an OP Graves feels, right? So here that was a nice little pick. We pushed the mid lane tower. That's great. Again, it's methodical. There's no real stress. We're not forcing anything too much. We're just playing the game our way. We're just taking off people like an assassin. You are an assassin, by the way. Remember, as Kindred in this particular situation, you are 100% an assassin. Bard goes in, which is about as much as you can say. I love that Ornn ult on the minimap. We get Drazzer, we miss it anyway. I'm watching the Kindred. Okay, good flash. Can we hit the plant before the bowling ball hits? Can we live? Should be able to. Very, very nice. Remember, he has no magic resist at this particular point. Kindred's now rotating. That's what we're watching from the minimap. And we have the second Herald available. Die. Oh, he fell in the end. Nice collapse here. Always just be there for your team. I think this is the most important principle that you can take in these particular situations. If your team is in a rough spot, okay, don't die for them, but definitely go ahead and rotate to good situations. But don't die for it. So that didn't end so good for me, did it? I wanted to say, rotate, help the Ornn, take the Herald, make a pick. But obviously, if it's all doomed, just leave, yeah? I think that's what happens to too much in low elo. And in Diamond, you guys get fed way too much, and then you just try this full-on limit test, instead of just saying, you know what, it's doomed, take my camps, reset, or just full clear reset, because there's nothing else they can get. And you just get such a big experience lead by giving them one Herald. They'll get one bounty, but are they going to get 2 bounties, 3 bounties once you've reset? Nah. Not at all. Anyway, I'm trying to give you some general principles about closing out, some macro decisions, some thoughts, because I think these games obviously are kind of super snowball, but look at the timeline. Look at the timeline. There's a huge gap here of nothing, right? They've gotten a bounty with the 7,000 gold behind. Corki scales unholy. Zeri is always a high risk factor, particularly this is before her nerfs, by the way. Lilia also scales very nicely. We do have ornaments, we do have Kindred, we do have Vayne, you know, but it's not something that's like Renekton and Rek'Sai, right? If it was Renekton and Rek'Sai, then what are you going to do, you know? They could do nothing against the Kindred team. So in that particular situation with with the scaling team compositions, keep yourself smart. Don't throw games. Don't give them too many bounties. Keep your experience lead up. Keep your itemization lead up. Most important. So we have Rapid Fire Cannon, which is going to be very huge in this game because they have a lot of range. So we want to be able to do our business with picks and so on. Okay. That's enough generalization. We got the Herald. Dragons respawning. Ahri is pushing on the top side. We have here the Kindred. As I said, hit it on for the dreams. Good job. The dreams. I love hitting max range on ults like that. It's so fun. Absolutely so fun. Hey, Bard hit an ult that actually matters. Don't go through it because we need to keep our range. Watch the karma Q. Make sure we just say good night, sweet prince. They're gonna die. Oh, Aatrox, hello, sir. Watch the W. That was close. That was very, very close. Pixel perfect Q to get out of the W from the Aatrox. Always use your Q from ability. It's not reacting, right? It's reacting, yes, but you know the spells are gonna come, so you're always using it in a way where you're sort of predicting and then reacting, and that's the best use of Kindred Q. So a lot of Kindreds just die a lot, you know, like in Xin Zhao attacks you with a W, just Q it. And then he can't gap close 1,000 years, and you can keep your range gap. So save your Q. Don't always use it as like a yeeting button. I think maybe that's it. Too many times it's like an all-in button, and then you get charmed, and then you die. Dragon for us. This is slowed down, though. I mean, a lot of you, I bet you would think, okay, this is GG, and it is GG, most likely, but they slowed it down a bit. Because you can't overcommit too many times, especially now we give another bounty over to the enemy team. That's being shifted as well in the next patch. We want to play for the Baron. Don't take my Grump, please. That's my Grump. Who are you? You are 131 ADC again. We're doing this without a team. The Ornn is playing very well and the Ahri is playing very well, but we're doing this without a bot lane, really. And that's huge. Hey, that's... Sleep into Zanya's into Zeri into... Ooh. You see? You gotta be cautious here. Okay, Aatrox is mispositioned. Okay, now it's over. So Lilia plays way too far up front face checking for no particular reason, which I think is something that most of you are guilty of. I'm guilty of it too. You kind of think like from their perspective, let me go see what's up. You shouldn't, but you can. Activate the Herald. You could use it afterwards with the Baron if you have the time, but otherwise just use it. Take a tower with it, considering you have 4 dead. That'll do some good work for Odin, and you guys can float on back here. You do have Ornn, how close are you, buddy? I can't click on Ornn. There we go. Alright, he'll get it now. Upgrade us. Upgrade us, precious. There we go. Wait. Wormfallen Sacrifice, for those of you who didn't know. One of the cooler names for the Ornn upgraded items. Now who's killing you? And of course, here we go into the BF Soul plus Pickaxe, full damage. If you are afraid of being assassinated, maybe they have, let's say, Zeds and Kianas running around, and you're afraid of being squishy and obliterated from the map in these particular situations, why are we still doing this? Then the GA can be very, very helpful, because double death. But in the case that they're all squishies and you're going to use mobility and they can really not touch you, then IE is always, always, always good. Don't really like QSS, to be honest with you, but I think adaptive itemization, even if the items are not attractive to you, are super useful. Okay, see? Like, we get hit into the knock-up sweet spot, but it doesn't matter. Okay, shut up, collector people. Shut up. Shut up. It's still not good. That one instance is still not good. I know people are gonna... I know people are saying something in Twitch chat right now about it. Ah, you see? We got the kill boss. Use the ult. Well, we didn't even choose out of range. Use the ult to keep yourself alive and not keep the enemy alive, and now we can close the game out. So, methodical, clean, 1v9. Ornn and Ahri understood who the carry was, but the Kindred just played their game. They abused their range component. They scaled like a beast, but they scaled like a beast by 23 minutes. I know these kinds of games aren't always the most interesting in terms of raw EDU content, but again, these kinds of games when you're a Kindred is the dream. This is what you are looking to play like. With a Rengar, with a Kindred, this is what you want every game. When you're carrying and climbing, is this not what you want? This is the template, my friends. This is the template minus the collector. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. A little bit of a different video from the 30-minute behemoths we've been having recently. We've had a lot of 30-minute videos with scaling and comebacks and negatives. Because I always feel like I need to have the, like those situations. But, sometimes it's good to remind ourselves of what we want to accomplish in life. And in League of Legends. And with Kindred. And with my channel. So please do like, share, and comment. If you did. Did I say that already? I lose track all the time. Anyway, subscribe. And subscribe to the main channel. Boot camp next week. Be there. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.